everyone. Good evening. Welcome to your Sunday Tonic conversation with the Love Crusader. Promises to be another exciting edition this evening, and we have a very interesting topic lined up for you today. It's something you would not want to miss. It's something you would want your friends, your brothers, your sisters to hear about. So if you're coming across this platform for the first time, welcome. It's called Conversation with the Love Crusader. It's a platform where we talk about love, we talk about life, we talk about relationships, all in a fun way. Welcome to all of our regular subscribers. We are gaining more and more traction, and that's great. So, welcome everyone. Today, um, TLC, myself, your Love Crusader, and my husband are the host on the show. And Titi Layo. We are the guests. Titi Layo is the host. I'm used to saying that as the host. I'm used to
The
saying that
tables are turned.
Titi Layo is the owner of the show today. She's hosting us. And myself and my boyfriend are the guests on the show. So I'm not going to say welcome to you. Titi Layo has to welcome us. Here we are.
Welcome to these lovely people. It's always a pleasure to see your face and to hear your story. This is the interesting part of this today's conversation for me, at least to get a chance to hear your story again is such a wonderful thing. Aside from the fact that when people hear the story, they would definitely learn something from it. It's just a sweet story to listen to. So welcome, sir.
It's good
Mama,
to
I
be
will
here.
tell you you're welcome because you are a regular
So you
customer.
have to welcome me. You have to welcome me because today I am a àlejò,
You're a guest.
Good to be here, Titi the Lion.
Yeah. So welcome. And without further ado, because you know how it is, time flies fast. So let's just delve into this thing they called long distance. First of all, let's talk about what long distance is. What do you term as a long distance relationship? Because I mean, people go into a relationship all the time where they might not be um in the same geographical location as the other person, but it may not be termed as long distance, probably because eventually they come together. But in a nutshell, what would you term as a long distance relationship or a long distance marriage too?
Mm.
Should I start?
I can start.
Okay.
Long distance relationship, just like you mentioned passively, is a relationship within partners who have been separated by geographical distance, by geographical locations. Having one maybe in London, having another in Nigeria, or even having one within the same country, but separated by location. And um, honestly, by our own experience, it's it's one difficult thing, And the reason why it's called distant relationship, and separated by geography is because there's no face-to-face contact all the time. It's restricted by location. It's restricted by distance, and that's why it's called long distance, because there's no constant face-to-face interaction. You might do it via Skype or email or whatever methodology, but it's different from when you have that face-to-face, contact, that face-to-face relationship. So it's limited by distance. That's why it's termed long distance
Mhm.
relationship.
Yeah. So once we are not in the same geographical location, it is long distance. Mama, do you have any other thing to add to
Yeah,
that definition?
I agree with the definition.
Mm-hmm.
So majorly when we refer to long distance relationship, we're talking about people who have been separated by physical and geographical space. And sometimes some people think it's only when it's really, really far off.
That's what I was saying.
That's the one some people think. But even being in a different, how do we call it in this area where we are? County. You know, one person is in a different county, the other, that's already a long distance relationship.
Because there's no physical contact.
Not like there's no physical
Separated by
contact, but
geography.
not a constant physical contact. For example, when I was dating my husband, we were living in the same Abuja. Okay, so Wuse 2 area 11. It was pretty easy. I was even working in Wuse 2, which made it much easier.
Yeah.
So I could post work, which was what I did most times. You know, close from and then be at brother's house or office, because his office was in Wuse 2, his house was in Wuse 2, and I was working in Wuse 2. You see? So, but if, for example, even within for Abuja, I mean, maybe he's in Suleja and I'm in Gariki, definitely it will be more difficult to see ourselves regularly, like on a daily basis, on a regular basis. So once there's that constraint that makes you not see each other regularly, for me, it's a long distance relationship.
So are you saying that we can be in the same town and still be experiencing? Is that a different thing altogether, or can this still be termed as long distance?
That is what I have said. You can be in the same town, but as long as there's a constraint, there's a reason why you cannot regularly meet. Because I mean, if you are in a relationship with someone, it's expected that you will go out on dates. It's expected you will do things together, maybe attend programs together. You know what I mean? If there's anything that restricts that from being a regular thing, it's a long relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's another twist to the definition.
No, I think it just merges everything together, because it's like now we understand that for long distance relationship, you are either something is hindering you, either geographical location, whatever it is that hinders your ability to be able to meet regularly physically with each other, should be termed as a long distance relationship. That's what I understand now. So the common one is geographical location.
Very common.
You know, far away, you know, but there are other situations too where we're not so far away, but for some reason or the other, we're not able to operating in that space where we meet regularly. Okay, that's fantastic. So my question now is, in a long distance, is there any when we talk about the impact of long distance relationship, whether it's positive or negative, is there any difference in terms of impact in a long distance relationship and a long distance marriage? In terms of impact, you know, how does the impact play? Let's talk about the negative or the not so pleasant impact in a long distance relationship and compare that to maybe say long distance marriage, you know.
We had been in a long distance relationship, marriage for more than 10 years of our marriage, more than 10 years. And I tell you, it's quite difficult. I don't know how people do it, but it's quite difficult. I remember at one time I was in Ibadan. At another time I was in Lagos. At some time I shuttled between Suleja for years. I was in Warri as well for about 3 years. And I tell you, these times were very, very difficult time for us. For instance, economically, it had a very, very negative impact. I want to look at the negative impact of those movements first before I talk about the gains. For instance, I practically had 2 homes. That is, if I had a fridge in Abuja, I had in Warri, or in Ibadan, I had 2 televisions, I had bed set, I had cooking utensils, I had everything to make a home. As much as I had them in Abuja, I had the same thing there. There was no need for that if we were living in the same geographical location. There would have been no need for that. And The second negative impact was the cost of commuting, the cost of transportation to see my family. I was either flying from Lagos or Ibadan back to Abuja, or driving myself, or using the bus. I used night buses a lot. It was a strain on us financially, having to keep these two homes. How about the upkeep? I had to give an upkeep to the family over there, an upkeep for myself, the same amount of money that should have been able, to take care of all of us if we were living together. So economically, it was quite difficult. I had to rent another property. In fact, I was living in Abuja. I didn't need to buy or rent any property, but I had to pay for my rent wherever I moved. So economically, it was not the best thing to do. I wouldn't even recommend that to anyone. But when we looked at the flip side and looked at some of these places I mentioned that I worked, they were, economically, again, it was a blessing, so to speak. But it was not always like that all over the place. So if you weigh the negatives and the positive, at the end of it all, you'll find out that we lost monies in all of those kind of relationship. That's economically. How about companionship? For me, I like being with my wife all the time. I mean, all the time. Even if she's not doing anything for me, just sitting there and I know she's there, there's that kind of, warmth that I enjoy from it, I derive from it. But not all the time. Sometimes I had stayed back 2-3 months before coming home, which was quite difficult for me. So that companionship means a lot. And that's the problem in the relationship. That's where the problem starts. Because God did not fashion it for the man to be alone. God was speaking and he said, it is not good for the man to be alone. The man hates being alone. The man cannot be alone. It is difficult for the man to be alone. So when there's that loneliness, the problem is that the man is always looking for how to cover that void. And that's where the problem comes from. So we must watch this in relationship on that aspect. Then the aspect of, I hope I'm not talking too much. Cut me if you need
please
to.
go ahead.
Now, when it comes to the point of upbringing, the children upbringing, you can't leave that alone to the woman. She's too overwhelmed. The woman is busy with running the home, with her own career, with church, quite a number of things. And then when you add that of the children, it makes it quite cumbersome for her to be able to articulate. Now, we started having children just after marriage. We had our eldest son, and just within time, the other one came as well. So having to juggle with these two children at that time was quite difficult for her. And I watched a video, a clip recently. A child was ranting, and immediately the father walked into the room. He says, "Sleep," and the son just stopped crying, went to the bed, and started to sleep. That's the presence of a father. So in the home, there's a need for the father to do his fatherly role. There's a need for the mother to do her own role. They are complementary. So you don't leave it for the mom to do both of them. So there was that problem. So it's all encompassing. By the time we begin to dissect them, you find out long distance thing is not something that I encourage. There were quite a lot of problems. Even ourselves had times that we had to argue. If we were physically present, there are things we can talk things over. I could look into your eyes and we have simple understanding, simple body language, and we're able to pass that information and communicate effectively. So there was no that effective communication some of the times, because you just send a message and somebody might misconstrue that information that had been disseminated. But if we were to be there in person, we're able to understand ourselves. So there were too many things. There were too many cracks coming in, too many cracks. For me, it was a very difficult period.
Okay, so Mama, is that he has answered the question holistically, like generally, but from a woman's perspective, from a female perspective, are there any specific negatives when it comes to long distance relationship, long distance marriage,
Okay. The negatives, there are negatives, and I think that it's mostly negative. That's the truth.
Yeah.
It's something that if it were avoidable, then it's better to avoid it.
Yeah.
The only time, what I'm saying is the only time when one should be in that situation where you're not in constant reach of your
Hmm.
loved one is when it's unavoidable.
Mm.
But if it's avoidable, as much as it's as avoidable, let's avoid it. Because there's a lot of, like he said, the economic challenges, the emotional challenges, the physical challenges, the unity and oneness that should be in a relationship and in a family. So I mean, for us, for example, I was just telling you that when we were dating, we were pretty close. Like,
Yeah.
we went to the same church,
Yeah.
we were in the same choir,
Yeah.
we were in the same youth fellowship.
Yeah. She followed me around.
Yay! Who followed who? Titi will soon call Anna to come and be witness. So because Anna was there from the beginning. Okay. Anyways, so he was following me everywhere. Every department I joined, he would join.
Apart from women department.
I was not even in the department anymore.
Because you couldn't join that one.
So we practically went from, we were seeing each other every day. Because Monday we will go to choir night house, Tuesday is Bible study, Wednesday is youth fellowship, Thursday is prayer meeting, Friday maybe there's one night vigil, or those who know our church back then. I'm seeing somebody online on Instagram, one of those who were in our church then. So there's always one thing going on. Saturday we are off for evangelism, or youth ESCO. We used to have ESCO meeting, ESCO fellowship. Sunday we are back again together. So we every day in church, and like I said, I closed from my office at Wuse to at his office before I go home. We were seeing each other every day up until the time we got married. And then a few months into the marriage, this transfer thing started.
Yeah.
Firstly to Ibadan. So now I have left my father and my mother, coming from a very large family myself, to join this man to create and start my own family. But now the man is gone. I'm still pregnant for my first child. I don't even have my first child yet. The man is gone. So he comes once in 2 weeks. He comes once in 3 weeks. He comes, of course, it was not his fault. It was unavoidable. I didn't have another job for him. But I resented it. And I must just tell you the truth. As a young, newly married wife, I resented that. I resented him. I was really angry about the fact that, my God, if this man was going to be traveling around the world, why come and marry me and keep me here? Some people will tell you, well, there's that beauty and the excitement of, you miss each other.
Being each other, yeah.
But we really needed ourselves. We really needed that bonding. We needed that time to get to know each other, to grow together, and there were lots we needed to do together.
Yeah.
And we planned to do together.
Yeah.
So you're sleeping as a young girl that, you've been keeping yourself and everything. Now you're sleeping alone, lying down on that bed. Child, it isn't easy.
Yeah.
They are dreaming, where is this man that I left my father and mother for now?
Yeah.
Let's tell ourselves the truth. It's there. That physical intimacy, there are times when you really want this person, not a programmed one. You really want this person there at that time. You want to be able to reach out your hands and grab this person and hold this person, because this is the person you love. And I remember my husband was one of the very, very first investors in mobile phones. The moment it was like mobile phones came for my husband in Nigeria. As expensive as they were, my husband was bent on buying me mobile phones. I think we bought our first SIM for as much as 25,000 naira.
40,000 then.
Or 40,000 naira. SIM card though, that have become free. That's to tell you, it just came then. Not everyone could afford
I already was using a mobile phone then.
It was desperate.
I was using the Nitel mobile phone then.
Nitel, that big Nitel.
Yeah.
And I also had that small stuff. You could send me a message and I go call you later. What is it called?
I can't remember.
Pager?
But anyways,
Yeah, just a way of communication.
Was it like a pager?
we were really, really looking for
Yeah,
a way to stay
in
together.
touch.
He really tried to find means of communication. And for
Hmm.
anyone who has found themselves, I know maybe later we'll talk about how we can navigate it. So let me not jump the gun.
Yeah,
But that was helpful. But it's still like, when we're growing up, we say, can a picture do what my
Yeah.
lover do for me?
Mm.
It's not the same. Even if you do the
Yeah.
video call, you do the phone call, yes, person's voice all the time, it's still not the same. So that is there. And then with that vacuum comes temptation.
Yeah.
And I'm
Hmm.
being very, very, very practical and telling people the truth today. Sometimes some people are very holy. They have never been tempted. I remember one time, and this time we already had 2 kids.
Yes.
And it was still on transfer. Like you said, it was over a period of 10 years.
Yes.
Going from one place to the other, and I was just stationed in one place. So I was, Nigeria, no light, generator, your hair. So we came back from church one evening, me and these children, and then I was struggling with the generator. And then a guy came up and said, "Oh, what is wrong?" I said, "I don't know." Took over, helped me, service the gen, touch this and touch that, and then the gen worked. And before he started coming to the house to help around, so to speak.
Mm.
Do you get? This is how I got a helper.
Helpless.
Holy Spirit, senior partner.
Because the truth is, whether you like it or not, there's a vacuum.
Yeah.
And the enemy would always want to come into that space. The enemy will always want to look for a way to fill the void. He knows now you're vulnerable, So whether male or female, if you want to tell ourselves the truth,
that's true.
It's a void and a vacuum that is created, and the enemy will want to creep in. A third party will want to creep in. By the nature of maybe men and human beings, they want to help. And maybe you yourself, as a person, you need the help. So you don't have any bad thoughts initially. You're not thinking, I want to replace my husband. But fortunately or unfortunately, in the long run, as things continue to go on, rather than look towards your head, your helper, your king, the one who's supposed to be the husband and the head of your home, you start looking towards this helper. You start looking forward to where this bro, this very kind, and honestly, that guy was very kind. And even with the children, it was really nice. Like the kids playing with them, and I would be able to do some other thing because, like he said, you can get overwhelmed.
Yes.
When it's you alone, something that both of you are supposed to be doing, and it's just one. Okay, I've talked for too long. Continue.
Oh, please go, please finish this. This is interesting. Finish this. Because even if you don't finish it, I'm still going to come back to ask you, how did you handle this helper? Because that's usually the challenge. Because helper now we've painted. Yes.
Okay, let's
assistant Holy Spirit.
So I didn't handle the helper. Truthfully, I was enjoying the help. That's the truth. I was enjoying the help, and I didn't have negative intentions. But the truth was that, yes, it was getting to a point where I know this brother is coming for me. He's coming to help. He'll be there. And 1, 2, 3 visits, my husband met helper. And then told me, I don't like this helper. This bro. If you know my husband, is very protective. So this help that this bro is giving, I don't want it. And I got offended. We fought about it. You're not there. And then the person who is helping me, you don't want the person. What do you want me to do? So my husband, as a gentleman that he can be, just went to brother and said, "Bro, please stop helping my family."
Wow.
Wow. That's me for you. I don't mess around. I just tell you the way it is. I did appreciate the fact that he was helping, and like I said when I started my own opening montage, was that it could be really, really overwhelming. Having 2 children, your career, church and all of that. And then at that stage, I knew that she was really in trouble. And yeah, the help would have been okay if it was a one-off or something that did not have to continue all the time. So when I noticed that this was becoming a pattern, I said, no, you just have to stop. And he was kind enough to respect that fact that
Hmm.
it was enough. I was thankful for his help. And
Oh,
from there,
wow.
we got a family member, one or two, who had to move over to help my wife, because I understand she's overwhelmed with work and the children. But then the help was long overdue. So his service
Hmm.
was no
Wow.
longer needed. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So now that we've painted this picture, or given this impression, like, as much as it's possible, avoid long distance relationship,
Avoid
because
it.
it's
Avoid it.
like the negatives are way more. As a matter of fact, I don't think we've even mentioned any positives per se. you know
Well, for some people, maybe it's an avenue for them to discover themselves individually. Um,
but
I
definitely
don't
not
know.
at the
I don't even
beginning.
know
I
whether to
think
call that a
I think
positive.
the positive you would derive in some of these places that I worked, they were like the turning point in my life financially. There were some of them that God really blessed me tremendously. I could, like, the things that I counted as negative at some point were not negatives, because I could afford to pay my flight every week back to Abuja. I could afford that. I could manage both homes for years. I could afford that because the finances were good, but they were not across the board. They were not
Hmm.
everywhere every time. So the positives were quite minute in comparison to the negative. So
Hmm.
again, it's not long distance. It's not something that I should encourage. If it's avoidable, please avoid it. It's something
Hmm.
that creates a distance, just like, as you say, long distance. It creates distance in the relationship in the self in the long run. You find
Hmm.
out that, like we mentioned, if care is not taken and is not properly managed with the fear of God and with prayer, you find out in some certain quarters that the relationship begins to grow further away from themselves, the people in the relationship. It's not what they intended. That's not the
Yeah.
intention. That's what distance does to you. Because, for instance, she just said her own part. If peradventure in my own office, then I get somebody who is overly nice,
Yeah.
you also begin to think less of your family. I don't want to do that. In some cases, I have had to put my office in order, because I was the manager then, put my office in order, stay in Abuja for weeks, and I control with internet and phones what was happening back home, because I knew that my family was suffering due to distance. So if you ask me, it's very difficult.
Oh.
It's very, very difficult to leave your family in one place and then you stay on your own, and you tell me that you are stronger than Samson, you're this, you're that. I will tell you, my friend, you're deceiving yourself. It takes grace. I wouldn't forget to mention that.
Funny
Yeah.
Yeah.
enough, I was watching a video and they were asking this woman who's been married for, I think she was saying 46 or 48 years. And she said the secret to their being married for that long is because she and her husband don't live in the same country, in the same town.
Oh,
I wonder
wow.
what country she was saying, so that they visit each other, and every time they see each other, it's new again because
Have
they've
they
missed
got
themselves.
kids?
Eh? My
Have
dear,
they got kids?
I didn't check that video whether they had kids, but she was a very matured woman. She was talking about the man being a very busy man, traveling, working, and
No,
so they visit each other. And I thought to myself, can that be an advantage, really?
that it can't. There's no how it can be an advantage. Listen, people. That's not marriage. That's not marriage.
Hmm.
Long
Hmm.
distance can only be allowed if, in the course of that marriage, job takes you out, and even employers encourage you to move with your family.
Mm.
They encourage you to move with your family. There's no how you can be in another state, your family is in another state. How do you manage that? It is difficult.
No.
It is very, very difficult. And make no mistake about it, people who are passing through or who are in this kind of situation are groaning under it. It's very, very difficult. A woman cannot tell me that that's what works for her. She's not being sincere. She's not being sincere.
I
She's
agree.
enjoying
The
some.
woman is not here. Don't quarrel with her.
No,
Calm
no,
down.
she's not. No,
Calm
no, no,
down.
no,
They're
sorry.
Calm down.
No,
Be calming
I have
down.
I have been through it, and I understand what it means. And if somebody can boldly say that that works for them, come on, you're not being sincere. You're not being honest.
So some
Mhm.
fast forward to some few years later, when my husband now said he had this call to leave the country to go serve in South Africa
Yeah.
as a pastor, and then I said, "Okay, safe journey. The Lord be with you. You'll be visiting us. I have a good job in Nigeria. I'm not leaving Nigeria." The man para said, "No, I'm not answering the call. I'm not going anywhere if you don't go with me."
Yeah.
That thing I went through before with this long distance, really, I'm
I
not
wasn't
going to
do
do
it
it.
anymore.
I'm going with my whole family. So
Hmm.
what we're just trying to say is, as much as it's possible, if we can avoid it, let's avoid. I mean, look at somebody who is being so vulnerable and telling us um he's I know he's
Yeah.
here, I know him, he's here in the UK, and his family are still in Nigeria, and it's hell for him. If
Yeah.
unless there's maybe something wrong in that
Yeah.
marriage, you know,
Okay.
unless there's
So
something wrong
now,
in that marriage, if not, it cannot be a sweet thing
Yeah, she wants to
to
ask
be
a question.
separated. Go on.
okay, now, so we understand that, yeah, as much as it's possible, especially for marriages, and we've been able to highlight the negatives. So I find myself in a long distance relationship. Is that a red flag? Because if there's someone sitting and listening and saying, long distance, run, oh, it's not good, you know. So now I find myself in a long distance relationship. We're not married yet. This person is a good person. The relationship is going on well. The only issue at the moment is the fact that it is long distance. Is that a red flag? And if it isn't, beginning with long distance relationship, what do I do to mitigate that? All these plenty challenges that are coming against long distance relationships.
I would attempt to answer that question in two ways. Firstly, for me, I'm no longer in any relationship. I don't intend to start one. The one I am in now is my first and the last, till death do us part. Let me tell you something. If you can avoid long distance relationship, please avoid them. If it's something that is avoidable, listen, there are certain misunderstandings that, like I said when we started, that can be cleared if you were talking to me face to face. Now, the cost implication in long relationships are high. For instance, if you're dating someone who is in the United Kingdom while you are in Nigeria, how do people do the face-to-face seeing?
And from time to time, we get to see each other. He flies over.
He flies over from where?
It costs now.
From there.
Where does he fly from?
From there to here.
We are talking about cost down. Look at the cost of flying. If you were in the United Kingdom, it's one bus, £3 at most. See yourself. So if these things can be avoidable, fine. And then,
what if we have the money? What if we can afford it?
Have the money, yes. Like at one point, I could afford it. I was enjoying the flight. Yeah, I was enjoying it. So yeah, if you have the money, you can afford it, fine. But if you cannot, look, the money you can invest, you're spending in long distance relationship can be reinvested in something else. We need to be economically wise when we are going into relationship. Look at the economy of it. How much is this costing me? What is the cost of this? Is it worth it? Is it that I can't find a girl around my geography? Or is it I can't find a guy within my geography? If you cannot, fine, go ahead with it. But it is something that is advisable. Cut cost. Check how much this relationship is costing you. That's on the other side, economically. Emotionally, if you need somebody, the reason why we are in relationship is not just about talking and talking and talking. What if I have need that I need somebody to step in for me, to help me? Where is that person? How do we do it? It's not all about just being in a relationship with a name tag. We're in relationship. There are other things, other void that needs to be covered. You understand? So it is expensive. It's an expensive thing to do. Very, very expensive. That is not recommended. But If that is the only one you have, and you're
Mm.
willing to count the cost and bear the cost, fine and good. I remember when I was going to marry my wife, one of the things my father-in-law told me, and I don't forget that. He's a very wise man. He called me and he said, Joe, I said, sir, I said, have you counted the cost of this marriage? And that's the
Mm.
same question I will ask anyone who intends to go into a long distance relationship. Have you counted the cost? Listen, a lady
Mm.
told me something that was coming through my counseling. Usually, when I do counseling, and I will ask you, can I use some of these without mentioning your name to preach? And she said, okay. She was in a relationship for 8 years with a guy in the United States. She was here in the UK. For 8 years, this useless man wasted her time and then went ahead to marry someone else and had the effrontery to send her an invitation letter,
Aye.
Wow.
an invitation card. Now, I know that people can be in the same town and still do the same thing, but there's no how. There's no how. These are some of the things that come from long relationship. This brother
Mm.
needed some kind of warmth, some kind of emotional companionship, whatever you call them. He needed that. It's not something of talking on the phone. Some people get bored. You bored me. You bore me by talking hours on my phone. Sweet nonsenses. So this brother got tired, and perhaps in those void, somebody came to cover it. So that's what we're
Mm.
talking about. So we need to be mindful when we're getting into this kind of relationship. Count the cost. Is this something you're willing to do? Are you willing to take the shocks that will come out of it? How well do you even know this person? You stay in a marriage with somebody, you're even learning the person. How much more when you live in Europe and I
Relationship.
live in America or in Africa? How do you know this person? Because the reason in the times of relationship prior to marriage is to have a clear understanding or a bit of understanding about the person you're in relationship with. So it's
Mm.
important that you're able to go out with this person, strike a conversation with them so that you know their opinion, reason with them the way they think. It will help you. It's not all about we are in a relationship to get to marriage. How much do you know this person? How well do you
Mm.
know? If
Mm.
they were to be in an emergency, do you know anything about them?
Mm.
So we need that. Relationship should not be long distance. It should be a situation where you can be able to reach out within hour, maybe an hour or two, to the person that you say you're in relationship with.
All
That's my
right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Fantastic talk.
Let
So,
me let me
um,
add to that before you move further.
mhm.
I would say it's okay to start a relationship as a long distance relationship because you could meet someone. I mean, especially with the world that we are living in now, it's a small village, courtesy of technology, and the fact that people are meeting maybe on social spaces. You could meet someone online. The person is in California and you are in Nigeria, or the person is in Ghana and you are in the UK. It's beautiful, but what you must do is work towards coming together.
Mm.
Let the goal not be to continue to be apart,
mm,
because that's where the problem is. Like he's saying, people who live together, and that's why we don't encourage it.
yeah.
It makes no sense. I want to really know him. I want to know him. That's why I'm living together. I want to know her. I want to know her. That's why I'm living with her. You're wasting your time. Even those who live together, they've not finished knowing themselves. How much more the ones that, okay, all we're doing is a phone call, all we're doing is text message, all we're doing is video call. You might not really ever get to know who this person is.
Yeah.
What do they do with
Mm.
their daily life? What do they like? Who do they mix with? How do they think or react to things when things happen? Because you're not there when those things happen.
mm,
So, I mean, for us, coming back, when my husband finally came back, it was like coming back was a curse
Mm.
because I had a hell of a challenge adjusting
yeah.
to now having him at home.
mm,
Mm.
So think about it. For 10 years, I mean, all I got were maybe his inputs. I'll tell him I want to
Mm.
do this, and then you just give me, okay, this or but I
You've
was like
developed your
running the
own
show.
system.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was running the show. I had developed a system that was working for me and the kids. And then this man comes in. My I'm telling you, it was the worst time of our life as a married couple.
Hmm.
We had the worst of our marriage challenge when we came back together. Because now the learning that we should have done of
Yeah.
ourselves
Over the
Prior to
years.
the
in
marriage,
the
even.
early stage
Yeah.
of
Or
that
during the early,
marriage, during
yeah,
the early
during
stage
that
of the marriage,
time.
that learning that we should have done of each other, we missed out on it. And
Hmm.
so this was now we had become old in marriage, but this was now the time we're now learning ourselves. So as much as it's not, it might not be your fault, you might not be able to avoid meeting someone who is far away, or going for work, or for one reason or the other being apart from your family. What you must do is strive to work out a plan that brings you back together, because that's the
Hmm.
ultimate goal. The goal is that man will not be
Alone.
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 Alone. So to be married and still be alone, or to be in a relationship and still be alone, is not fair. I know, before you go there, that there are some people who are married and living in the same house and they are still alone. That's a topic for another day.
Mm.
It's coming up. We have it in our schedule. We'll talk about being married but single another day. All right, Titi, ask your question.
Okay, now we understand the impact of long distance relationship um on relationships and marriage, and as much as is possible. I like the fact that you highlighted that the ultimate goal is to come together
Yes.
eventually. So even in the event that, because we know these things, we are saying it like avoid long distance relationship or marriage as much as is possible, but we know the kind of world we live in.
Yes.
Sometimes these things are unavoidable,
Yeah.
so even when you find yourself in that space, the goal should always be working towards how to be together. Now, the question I want to ask, before the question I want to ask, my final question would be, um is not right, it's not the best, but I find myself in that situation. How do I cope? How do we cope? That's my final question. But before this final question, I want you to quickly touch on the fact that we find ourselves in a long distance marriage, especially, and all of a sudden, um, one person wants to stay here, the other person has to stay here. You know, we find ourselves in a long distance relationship, probably for work, because of work and everything. And now one party wants to remain where they are, while the other party is saying we need to, both parties want to remain where they are for whatever legit reasons they may have. How do you navigate that?
It's a very critical issue, and it's a fallout of long distance relationship. Well,
Mm.
I had a friend who lived abroad, and the wife was a Nigerian. And like my wife did say, she began to enjoy the independence. She developed that independent mentality of and enjoying the fact that the husband was sending her a lot of money back home. Of course, when you change this money, it's crazy. So she got to the point where she felt, I don't even want to come over. You continue to
Mm.
stay where you are. I will be where I am. Even when the husband made attempt to move her and the kids, it became a huge issue, and it's still a huge issue as we speak. Now,
Mm.
the thing is that that's what distance creates. The void, the vacuum that we are talking about is something that is only God, family, or prayer can solve. I tell you, it's a big issue because this person have come to that point where she's feeling, I'm very
She's
comfortable.
okay. She's
I'm
okay
okay.
with this arrangement.
Yes, I'm okay with this arrangement. And it's usually for egocentric reasons. The reason
Mm.
why this person is saying I'm comfortable is not in the best interest of both parties. It's not in the best interest of the family. It is for her or his
It's
own
comfortable
reason.
for her now.
That's it. He had grown to that part where he said, I'm okay here. Just continue to send me that money. I like this
Mm.
lifestyle. But you have not been fair enough on the family to say, we need to raise a family. We need to raise our children. We need our own love life. Please, seeing you once in 6 months is not marriage. That's not marriage.
Mm.
That's not the way marriage has been built and plotted. So it's difficult if I if I were to advise, they will need counseling. Family will need to step in. God help them. It might be resolved. Otherwise, it can even lead to the family dismantling.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult. So before you even start the long distance marriage thing or so, or relationship, that's where the cost comes again. Count the cost. Look at the future, because what we do when we are in relationship, we just look at the present. What are the
Yeah.
implications? How can this, what will this lead to? What can come out of this kind of relationship? It can also happen with the man. As a pastor, I have seen things. So I've seen a man who left the family here, came abroad, especially this United Kingdom, married somebody else, abandoned the wife and the children. The wife made frantic effort to reach the man, to no avail. So this thing is a two-way street. It happens to men. If you hear the man, no, you could say kill him. When you hear the woman, you could say that today he could die. So it's just it's a two-way thing, and it's very bad. It's not laughable. It's too bad. So for anybody who is going into whatever kind of distant relationship or distant marriage, be careful to count the cost. Just to add, there's a young girl that I know who's still married to the husband, and they have beautiful children. How did it happen? It was long distance relationship, but they were smart. The girl was very smart. From day one, she was smart. When she got into it, she said, "You have 1 month. 1 month. At most, I give you another 1 month, making 2 months grace to bring me to yourself, or there's no relationship. I
Bring me
cannot
to yourself.
Yes, bring me to yourself." I remember those words very careful. Bring me to yourself, or
Wow.
there is no relationship in the first instance. And this young man did exactly as she said. Within 1 month, brought her to himself, and they got married there, and they are still living together happily. So when you're coming into the relationship, define it. Define it. What are we getting into? What do we intend to get out of it? How will it go? Because if you don't define it, the terms, the references, and everything, you will not get the result that you need. Because, for instance, these people we are talking about, if they had defined it and given themselves time frame to say, we're going to be here for 1 year. After when they move, when my wife moved to come do her PhD here, we had a time frame. But I looked at it, I said, no, this will not work for me. I said it will not work for me. It was difficult already. I said no. I just woke up one day. She had left just for 2 months. I didn't stay more than 2 months before I joined her. I know they play around. I don't make around. Once I know that this is not going to work for me, it's going to drift me away from the Lord, from my faith, from my belief, I do something about it. So do something about your relationship. As long as we cannot utterly say long distance should not stand, because we don't even have the power. If you're going to go into it, count the cost. If you're going to go to it, fashion it, work on it the way it will work for you from day one. From day one.
Interesting. So quickly, because of time, for those people that they find themselves in that situation now, they're trying to work on it, they're thinking about it, but now, as at now, they're in that long distance space.
Yes.
What can we do as a couple to keep it together, at least pending when we're able to fashion it out?
People like my friend Patrick. And truthfully, when I was putting down this topic, one of the things that was on my mind was about this jackpot thing happening with Nigerians, and not just Nigerians, all over the world, the migration. Lots of people are migrating for work and leaving their families behind. They hope they either take their family along later or come back and be reunited with their family. So work is one of the major reasons why people and families are separated. But like I said earlier on, the first thing that you must have at the back of your mind is working together to ensure that you come together as quickly as is possible. That is one. Now, sometimes people have plans. They go into a country, maybe someone has come into the UK, has left the family in Nigeria, and is thinking, okay, I'll come here, I'll work, I'll make some money, and then I'll go back and get my family. And things have not gone as well as they've planned. So, I mean, it's not their fault. They can't kill themselves. You cannot say, oh, okay, you must go back and go and get this person even when you can't. Sometimes finding accommodation alone, we know how challenging it was. When my family was joining me, finding accommodation as a family can be quite challenging. But what I would say is, as much as is within your power, do whatever you can to come together as quickly as possible. If you have a situation where one person is willing to say, I'm comfortable being here,
That's the problem.
what they are saying to you is, I'm comfortable ending the marriage.
Oh, wow.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. It's the beginning
That's
of the
very
end
true.
of the marriage.
That's very true.
Because I mean, I heard a man of God preaching, and I totally aligned myself with what he said. He said, if the absence of your partner gives you peace, that's no longer a marriage.
It's no longer a marriage.
If you would rather have your partner not be around, say, make it cool. He has gone to work for 2 days. Hallelujah. I have 2 days of peace. Hello, reevaluate. That's no longer a marriage in the first place. So if you are now saying, I'm comfortable living 1 million miles away from my family, let me be here, you be there, something is wrong. There's something wrong, definitely there.
Someone is covering that void.
But in the meantime, while working towards being together, and I think that's your last question.
Yeah.
Stay with, that's work on communication.
Yeah.
You must hear from yourselves always. Thank God for technology. Video calls, voice call, WhatsApp call, Facebook call, direct call, any type of call. Call your children if you have children. FaceTime them. Speak to them. Be part of their lives. Don't let it be that you're not there physically and they still can't feel you in any other way. The woman is struggling. She's looking for school fees. You're here, you say you're working, it's money you're looking for, but you can't send school fees money back. She has to struggle look for school fees. She has to struggle for money to feed. Hello, very soon one man is going to give her that school fees.
One helper.
The same thing with the woman, with the man. You know, the man is calling you, you're not always speaking your call. I remember those days, one of the worst things you could do to my husband was for him to call you and
do any
you
other
didn't pick
thing,
the
but
call.
if you don't pick my call, it's problem.
He always say it's a mobile phone, and it's a mobile phone. You carry it with you. You hold it because he wants to always talk to us.
Yeah.
He wants to always, you know, my husband is always calling. Sometimes to a level where I feel, my God, this man is harassing us. But he's always calling the children. He wants them to see him. He chats with them. He wants to pray with them.
Yeah.
We still do that today, even with our boy who is an adult far back in Nigeria. We organize prayers in the house. We call him into the prayers. He's on WhatsApp call. He joins in the prayers. We started that from the time we were living apart.
Yeah.
So just to be able to keep ourselves together as a family, to continue to give that stability and, you know, the togetherness, which is very, very important and needful as a family. It's a big sacrifice you must make. It will be expensive, like my husband said. You must count the cost. You must invest in whatever it will take for them to feel your presence. You have to be there at birthdays, even if you are not there physically.
Yes,
you know what it means.
You're
sending birthday presents, you're organizing birthday parties, they are waking up in the morning because you sent a vendor to them.
Yeah.
You know, just continue to do things that makes your presence felt.
Yeah.
There. That's one way to keep it together. But I pray and I hope that for everyone who's had their family, you know, separated from them for whatever reasons, that they can all come back again together.
Wow, a big amen to that. A big amen to that. So, summary of the matter is work even harder, because we understand, we know that marriage is work on its own. So that long distance is another extra effort that you need to put in the event that you find yourself in that space. And if you haven't found yourself in that space yet, do everything you can to not find yourself in that space as much as it's possible. Do short distance. The shorter the distance, the better. Thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. I enjoyed this conversation really, because it really hit the nail on the head. A lot of people are experiencing this. A lot of people are going, this is practical stuff that people are experiencing. Some people are considering at the moment, you know. So I trust that it has gone a long way to help somebody, or give them insight, or to help them make a decision that they have to make, or just find out how to navigate going forward. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you, Mama.
If we have anyone who is listening to us and you're having difficulty with this long distance thing, don't throw in the towel yet. Trust God, like we said, to help you. Seek Him. Pray. You know, talk with your partner, like we just told you. Communication. Get counsel. Get help from the third party. Don't throw in the towel. it's not all bad. It's not all bad all round. There's something that can still be, taken out of that relationship. I want you to know that no matter how bad it is, give it into God's hands. He will deliver it back to you perfect. He will do something to help you. It's not all over yet. Don't give up on the relationship. God can help you. God can intervene. God bless you.
And I think most of all, try as much as is possible to seek ways.
Yes.
Seek ways of coming together.
Seek ways.
Seek ways of staying together. Seek ways of being together. No matter the thing you think is an advantage now, it will definitely be better if you are all together. Marriage relationship is meant to be together.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for hosting us, Titi.
Titi the Lion.
Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you, everyone, for joining this conversation. We have another wonderful conversation coming up next week, Sunday. Yes, and barista, what's my barista friend's name? Will be here. There's a lawyer, no, thank you. But there's a barista joining us next week, and we're having another wonderful conversation. But in the meantime, you want to talk more about this? Maybe you're having challenges already. Your relationship is already facing, serious challenges because one person is somewhere, the other is somewhere. Please call us, talk to us. Titi and I, we are very, very open. We'll help you, we'll guide you. Titi too has experienced this long distance thing. I know that. Work took her husband away for a long time. So we can give you practical tips on how you can navigate whatever challenges you're going through. And we pray that, love just keeps being love. This is the week of love, according to them. The reason why we're not really pressing on it is because love is every day. Our Valentine should be every day. But things they've created
Have you got plan for me?
No plans for you, my man. So I don't know what else to do now. Anyways, let love lead. Have a love-filled week, everyone. Share this video. Tell your friends about this platform. You could be helping someone. One information here can save somebody's relationship and somebody's marriage. All right, we'll see you again next week. Thank you, Titi. Thank you so much.
Titi
we love
the Lion.
you.
The Lord bless
Thank you for coming to host with me, my
you.
darling. And thank you, everyone who's commented and all who will comment later. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep joining us. We love you. And let love lead the way. See you again after the Valentine. Don't do anything you will regret because of Valentine. Ensure your love is pure. You want pure love in the name of Jesus. Okay, I'm not preaching. Where's my banner? My banner don't want to come. I'm trying to put the banner up. All right. See you next week, everyone. Bye.
Ciao.